Welcome back, world. This is part two of a series titled "The Science and Sociology of Man's Connection with the Universe." And on this part, this particular video or this particular interaction is to be more or less presented like thesis, because I'm building a framework of things that's gonna come around and make sense all together once all these videos are seen and done. So in this particular video, we're going to focus on unseen realities as well as the connection with air. Uh, so let's go ahead and get to it, man. Again, like I said, this is more or less kind of like a thesis I'm presenting. And I'm not just pulling this stuff out my ass. Just start there, okay? Everything that I'm referencing, everything I'm using to build this case is based upon things that we already know to be true, based upon things we already have understanding of, and just connecting the dots, basically. So when we think about unseen realities, the first thing I want to think about just right now, if you're watching this, that means you're connected to an internet source, which is an unseen signal that's operating in our current reality, okay? Whether it's internet, Wi-Fi, whatnot. Right now, there are light streams, light beams, lasers, whatever you want to call them, that are not visible to us. Okay, if you listen to radio waves, okay, radio signals. And these are just man-made uh, uh, signal devices that we know about. Okay, realities. We know if you listen to the radio, there's a radio wave that is sent through the air. Sent through the air, like everything else. We also know on the natural side, the birds and bees, when they like do their travel, it's based upon the electromagnetic web that already surrounds the Earth. Okay, this is why they've proven that Wi-Fi internet signals actually disorient bees and birds when they're trying to make their travels based upon this electromagnetic field that encompasses the Earth, because internet waves, Wi-Fi things interact with that field and it throws off the birds and the bees. These are real things you can Google and confirm. Okay, again, these are unseen realities, things that we can't see with the naked eye, but they are in existence. Okay, um, beyond that, on a more physical, natural level, we know about pheromones and we know about how they play in our human interactions. You can't see a pheromone, okay? You can't, oh, this is a pheromone, but it's active, it happens, okay? Um, Now, the problem, well, I'm not gonna jump ahead to that, but basically, my point in illustrating these non visible realities that we live in currently is that there's more than meets the eye in our reality that we're not always aware of, okay? And just because you can't see something doesn't mean it's non-existent, doesn't mean it can't be possible just because your eyes are not able to pick it up. We understand that our human eye cannot see as well, does not pick up everything the same way certain animals do, okay? There are certain levels of light that we can't see. Just like there's certain decibels of sound that we can't hear. Sound and hearing is a whole nother aspect of unseen realities. Okay, just like if you know about a dog whistle, you can blow a dog whistle and humans don't hear anything, but dogs all around go crazy. That's an unseen reality. It's something that's real, even though you can't point to the sound wave hitting the dog's ears and say, "Oh, see, when that sound wave hits his ear, that's why he responds." No, you still realize that these things are real in our reality. Okay, so, taking this understanding that there are realities that we currently live in, some man made and many natural, so many more natural things we can get into. But the point is that there are unseen realities that affect us in this world that we live in, okay? So, now, let me get my notes out because I had to kind of break this down to make sure I didn't get off track. So, in a lot of with some of those unseen realities I just spoke about, one of the key things there is that a lot of them are exchanges of energy, okay? Whether it's the natural ones or even some of the man-made ones, okay? It's energy being transferred, okay? You can't destroy energy, can only be transferred into another form, right? Okay, used, transferred from another, but it's not destroyed, it's always transferred, okay? So when someone makes a phone call, there's a signal that's being transferred through the airwaves to satellite devices and all that to reach another cellular device, okay? This same process happens with a lot of things, okay? But it's about energy transfer still, okay? Another unseen reality. If you're familiar with grounding, stepping outside on your bare feet, letting your bare feet touch grass, there's a real scientifically readable, that's not the word I want to say, but scientifically verifiable way that when you actually ground, when you actually walk around bare feet, there's actual energy exchange between you and the earth, okay? Carbon monoxide poison, that's another unseen reality. Can't see it, but it still affects you. Again, this is all energy being transferred. And a lot of it is being transferred either through the air or just through actual physical absorption or physical contact of the senses in some way, okay? So now we bring up that point about the air, about, a lot of these forms of energy being transferred through the air, like natural, whether it's pheromones, go or something through the air, airborne germs or whatnot. Okay, so stepping into this thing of air, of oxygen, O2, as it is seen on the elemental chart, brings you to the fishbowl idea. Okay, fish living in the ocean or living in a fishbowl, let's say, are engulfed in water all the time. Okay, now when they're in the water, do you think they actually see or know that, hey, I'm in water, or see that I can see this as water and see this as not? No, they're engulfed in it. Okay, unless they are like dolphins or something, they can break the shore. Okay, then they can step into another world. The same way we step out of this air dome and might go into the ocean. Okay, but here's the thing: we think of air as if it's empty space, but it's not. Air, in a lot of ways, is like the yin and yang of water. You can't get water without air. Water literally breaks down to H2O. A hydrogen bond and two oxygen bonds are needed to create water. Okay? So keep that in mind. The relation between oxygen and water. Okay? So why are we saying all of this? Back to the fishbowl theory. If you're looking at fish in a bowl, let's say you just have a bowl of water, all right? And let's say you have Kool-Aid or either clothing dye. Once you start putting a little bit of that dye in there, it's going to affect the atmosphere of the water, okay? Now, how much of whatever dye or of whatever Kool-Aid powder we put in there will determine what color the water ends up changing to, okay? But all the water will be affected to different degrees, varying degrees. Some degrees is based upon how much water you have versus how much input you have, okay? So one of the things why on a massive scale, like say, I always talk about the micro and the macro. When you hear about BP or somebody having an oil spill, that's kind of similar to a similar thing, okay? Oil is being spilled into the water, much like that Kool-Aid or that dye. Now, because it's being spilled into an ocean as vast and huge as ours, it's not going to immediately change the whole ocean oil black, okay? Based upon the amount of oil being released versus how much ocean you have, okay? Same thing with, when you're making Kool-Aid or something. Depending on how much Kool-Aid you make, you might need more powder in order to get the same effect, or more ingredients or whatnot. If you only got a little bit of a small cup of Kool-Aid, you probably don't even need the full packet to get the desired result. Again, the whole point of this is understanding the correlation, okay, between materials getting mixed into an oxygen or water-like field, okay? It affects everything within that field. Just like if I'm in a room full of people and I pass gas. Nobody can physically see the gas coming from my behind, but they will all be affected by it. Okay, if it's bad enough, folks will smell it. Now, depending on how big the room is, it may dissipate before it gets to somebody on the other side of the room. Again, that's the same features as with water and oxygen, because water and oxygen both serve as a dilution. They dilute things, okay? Based upon how much oxygen you have versus how much, of the other substance you're putting in, okay? If I pass gas in the elevator, it's going to make a bigger effect because it's in a small enclosed area, where if I pass gas in the auditorium, okay? Not that people won't still be affected, but the effects could be different based upon the imbalance of air, oxygen to dilute the smell. Same thing with water and oil spills, Kool-Aid, all these things. There's a principle I just want you to understand here, okay? And the connection with air and water, okay? Much the same way that things move through water, okay? Same way, same qualities which things move through air. We're just not always as conscious of it, okay? And just like a fish in the Pacific Ocean is in the same ocean, is technically in the same ocean as every other fish, a fish in the Atlantic Ocean, because all the water's connected, okay? They're in the same fishbowl. We're all here on this fishbowl, so to speak, okay? So what happens affects all of us to varying degrees based upon the level of it. Okay, so back to this relationship between oxygen and water, okay? Because can't say they're one and the same, but they have a very, dare I say, I don't know if it's the right word to say, symbiotic type relationship. I don't know if that's the right word, but oxygen and water, like, so you can't get water without oxygen. Let's just start there. Now, things we know about water, about the qualities of water. Water can be programmed. This we know. I'm sure you've all seen the videos of people praying over water, or putting certain intentions into water, and seeing the water actually form crystals, actually change compounds based upon the energy that people were transferring into that water, okay? And based upon over time of them consistently transferring this particular type of energy into the water, it actually affected the water. This is measurable. Same thing on the other end of that. If you put negative energy, they did a test where they put negative energy, positive energy. It changes the crystallines of the water proportionally based upon whether it's something positive or loving, or whether it's for something more negative, or I don't. Anyway, you're familiar with the concept, okay? So keeping that in mind, water can be programmed with intent, with feelings, with different energy that is measurable. This is not woo-woo. This is not enough to make believe. This is scientifically proven, okay? Where you think people get the concept of holy water, okay? A bunch of priests, so to speak, prayed over water and deemed it holy based upon the energy and the intent that they put into that water, and then they pass it out to folks or spray it on folks, say it's holy, whatever, okay? Again, I'm not making light of that. I'm just saying that is actual practical sociological use of this very measurable principle of water being programmed. Now, other thing we understand, like we say, energy doesn't die. It's only transferred, okay? So, other thing, as humans, we're 75% water, right? Right. Okay. The brain is 75% water, okay? Your brain needs water to process the function. You have to stay hydrated so you can even think and process correctly. When you get dehydrated, your brain function is affected, okay? These are real reality things, real realities that we live in, okay? So, why do we have to stay hydrated? Because we're constantly losing water, okay? We need to maintain a certain level of water within our bodies, yet we're constantly losing water from our bodies. How are we constantly losing water? You got sweat, you got waste, okay? Tears, multiple ways that the same water is released from your body, okay? If you've ever watched a football game, especially when they're playing in the cold, and they all come off the field, and he take off his helmet, and you see steam rising from his head. That is literally moisture leaving his body and evaporating into the atmosphere. Keep that in mind, okay? And you've seen, if you watch a football game, you've seen the steam rising from players' heads on the sideline, especially when it's cold, okay? Well, if it's warm, that happens even more. But because it's warm and the air is less dense, you don't see the steam as it rises easily, okay? The same thing happens, but when it's cold, the air, which we're talking about, becomes thicker. It becomes more dense, which affects the particles of sweat as they evaporate. It makes them a bit more visible than it does when it's warm, okay? But this is a reality. It's a process that's happening, okay? So, if we know this, that we need water in our body, got to try to keep 75%, stay functional. We also know, in order to stay healthy, your body has to maintain a heat of 98 something degrees, right? That's pretty hot, to be honest with you. Step outside, it's 90 degrees. It's a hot day outside, okay? Your body generates a heat of 98 degrees inside most of the time, okay? So if you have a 98 degree system, okay, that's basically, look at basically the whole point I'm trying to get to is like this. Your brain's functioning, burning off water, okay? It's got to be 75%. You need water. The brain's using the water, is burning it off the water, much like you see in factories, and you see the excess being burned out through like the chimneys at different factories. This is happening to us humans as we go around all day, okay? Because remember, we got a 98-degree furnace inside of us, and we're constantly drinking water to stay hydrated, okay? Because the water's not staying inside of us, okay? So all these are basic principles you understand, that all proven, no woo-woo, no fairy tale shit, right? So here's the thing. We've already understood that water itself can be programmed with intent, with energy, okay? You're 75% water. We also know that we burn water, okay? Water's constantly coming out of us. Now, energy can't be destroyed, right? So what happens to water? Go back to those glasses of water we said that we prayed over and made intention with. What happens if you leave that water out in the sun and it evaporates, right? It goes back into the atmosphere, just like that football player on the sideline who's sweating, going into the atmosphere. Energy can't be destroyed, only transferred. So what happens to the energy that was programmed into the water that is now evaporated into the atmosphere? It goes into the atmosphere, into the air that we're all connected to. What's the whole point of this? Humans have, this is also measurable, electromagnetic fields that originate from within us, a lot from around our heart areas, okay? There's literal measurable energy that we as humans generate from all that shit that's going on inside of us, that's taking 98 degrees to function, and all this is processing. We generate electromagnetic field as well as auric fields, okay? These things are measurable. And these things alter, they change, they fluctuate based upon moods, temperaments, whether you're in a emotion state of fight or flight. All these things affect your electromagnetic field and your auric fields, right? So, the energy that you are processing right here, right now. Remember, in part one, I asked you about, if somebody we all tuned into your energy, what would be coming out? What would we see? Your influence, okay? Energy, part of your influence. When you walk into places, when you move around, what energy do you move with? Okay? What is radiating from you as you go through the day? Okay? Just like you can look at somebody and say, hey, he's steaming mad. We say that because we can feel that energy radiating off of that person, that they're, same thing as someone's depressed. You can feel that energy radiating off of them a lot of times, okay? And it's a very real thing. So, again, back to you, who's generating all this energy. And we just explained, water, programmed, evaporates, can transfer. Energy can transfer. So let's bring it all together. The zone that you stay in, okay? The state of mind, the frequency, if you will, the energy space that you reside in, okay? It has a signature, okay? And it comes out of you into the field around you, affecting others, okay? Now, how strong is that energy field? Based upon the strength of your energy field, gives you a level of influence. We're coming back to the first part, okay? When we break down this is trying to understand the science of how this processes. So back to the fishbowl theory. You're generating a certain energy in this fishbowl. Remember what we said about the Kool-Aid and the dye? When you focus on a certain state, whether it's love, anger, or whatever, peace, you generate a dye into the atmosphere around you. Okay? Now, based upon how strong your energy is, that's more dye that you're putting into the atmosphere around you. Now, just like the animals who are swimming in the ocean or living in the ocean, when BP has oil spill, that oil gets in the ocean and the atmosphere around them, they get affected by it. Other people are affected by your energy, the energy you're putting out. And the stronger your energy, the more they're affected. This is not good or bad. It's based upon how you use it. This is part of what makes, in sports, great example. In sports, the team leader or the team motivator, so to speak, is usually the person who has a strong, whose energy is so strong, it infects the people around them, okay? Not always the best player on the team. Oftentimes you hear people talk about certain teams and they might mention the players, oh yeah, he's the heart and soul of the team, but he's the engine that keeps them going. But he may not be the best person on the team. But his presence on the team is monumental, okay? Because it's how he affects other people. Is even when they talk about even some of the good players or whatnot, they say part of what makes certain great players great is the ability to uplift their teammates, meaning the energy that they were producing was passed amongst their teammates. It was infectious. That's the word. It was infectious, so other people gravitated to the energy and absorbed the energy, and that energy grew. Okay, that's how people come from a 20, 30-point deficit or a deficit to come back to win. The energy of them believing they can do this grows. And it might be that one player who's not their star player. Even if he's injured, he might be on the sideline putting energy into everybody, keeping people alive, keeping people into the game. And that presence motivates people because enough people start to gravitate their energy. And when other people come into that energy, they mimic that energy, okay? They see how hard he's going, how much he believes, and guess what? Now they believe, okay? Now they feel just like he feels about it, and they're putting that same energy. And now you have a collective of people all putting the same dye into the atmosphere around them, okay? Even bigger, Philadelphia Phillies. I'm a Braves fan, so you know they're kind of our rivals, but Brian Stott, I think? There's an iconic moment he had at a home game in Philly where bases loaded, it's last out of the night, they either got to win or lose or whatnot, and as he's coming out to the plate, his walk-up song's playing, and the whole crowd, because it's a home game, so everybody's there to see them win, to see his team win, the whole crowd starts singing collectively in unison, singing his walk-up song as he walks to the plate, and first pitch, it's a home run, okay? There's no doubt in my mind that the combined energy, okay, combined with his own self-belief, okay, made that moment happen. But that's the power of energy, and we're talking about right now, really what we're getting to is how energy transfers amongst us in real time and give you a different perspective of to understand how very real it is and how it can potentially play a part, how you don't, let me rephrase that, run it back. Not how you potentially play a part, you do play a part, whether you, ain't about potential, is whether you're aware of it or not, you do play a part based upon the energy that you're generating, or the energy that you're allowing to influence you, back from that first video. Okay, so here is what it all comes down to. This energy that we're all talking about, that we generate, propagates, goes out into the atmosphere of this fishbowl, affecting people around us. Now, the stronger your energy, the more you can affect. the more you affect, the more people align with your energy, the greater effect it has on the entire globe, on the entire atmosphere. And it builds on that. Again, scientifically quantifiable, there are people you've heard who have mass meditations at certain times. And they have shown statistics like, hey, when these people were doing, these masses of people were all bringing the energy that they generate together in alignment and all bringing it together to generate for a singular purpose, okay? Statistics show that crime and certain rates went down. Certain crime and rates around the globe went down while this was going on, which points to a direct effect of people aligning their energy for good. Emphasis on for good. The same thing can happen in the other direction, okay? This is how people, gangs, riots, all these things start. Same principle. There's a certain energy that comes in, and other people, they start to take on that same energy, okay? You can solve the image where everything was fine until this individual showed, where these people showed up, and then the energy they brought changed the whole rollout of what was going on. These are very real things. Even when you hear about celebrities or scandals or whatnot, one person decides to come forward about something, okay? They find the energy, they generate the energy within them to come forward and speak on something that happened or whatnot. And by them doing that, someone else now gets a little more energy based upon the energy they generated. Now they've got a little energy to step forward to about the same thing that may have happened to them. Next thing you know, you have multiple people who are all say, you know what, I was affected by this too, and I wasn't, for whatever reason before then, didn't speak on it. But if it was something that actually happened, seeing other people stand up for themselves gives them courage to do the same thing. Revolution, all these things are the same principles. People feeding off of other energies, and that as that energy spreads throughout the atmosphere of that immediate area or the globe at large, change occurs. Okay? Even when you look at, in the West, the plight of slavery. Slavery was going strong in the West for years, okay? Uninterrupted. At a certain time, enough people's mindsets changed about that. And what happened? It began to change. Slavery, the whole way people felt about it began to change because people mindsets, energy began to change in regards to it, okay? Now, there's something else that I'm going to bring all this together with, that is, again, scientifically quantifiable, something you can check out. It's called the hundredth monkey. I don't know if it's the 100th monkey theory, but it's the 100th monkey thesis. I'll call it that. But 100th monkey, this is something that's scientifically quantifiable. Basically, it says when a behavior is learned by 100 individuals of a species, something happens once that 100th individual adopts or learns this behavior. All of a sudden, every individual in this species automatically seems to get a download of this same knowledge, even if they weren't the ones who manufactured or learned this evolution. It's called the 100th monkey syndrome or theory or whatnot, but they've studied it and said it's something that about if 100 monkeys make this adaptation in this particular area of the world, when that 100th monkey makes that same adaptation, monkeys in other parts of the world automatically get the adaptation, even though they may not have gone through the process. It's something about 100, okay? 100 collectively coming together, energetically wise, on the same alignment, affecting beyond them, the mass of that. And again, all of this scientifically comes down to, in my process, the fishbowl. Okay? Like Tesla said, air is not empty. things travel through the air, okay? And based upon the strength behind the things that travel through the air, the signals of this energy, it can have greater or lesser effects, or better or worse, based upon the energy being generated. So again, it comes back to, what energy are you generating? What are you contributing to this fishbowl that we're in? Okay? And who's in alignment with you? You know, uh yeah, that's pretty much where I'm gonna end this part. Okay. If you haven't, go back and watch part 1 on influence, because this is the connection. Okay, this I started with influence. Now we're breaking down the process of how this influence actually works in real time, in reality, scientific, from a scientific approach as well as a societal approach. Okay, this is why I'm using the examples I'm using, to see that these scientific processes can also be seen, can also be observed in society and how we relate to each other. That's not coincidence. That is understanding a greater process that's going on within us every day, whether we realize it or not. Okay. That's why a lot of times, people say, even in corporate world, oh, it start from the bottom. I mean, just start from the top, head up. If management is off and they do stuff, everybody below them is going to kind of be thrown off. If management is on point and self-accountable as well and fair, everybody else seems to have better progress. So a lot of times it's about the people who are in positions of power, positions of influence. And that's, again, still comes back to, I think I said earlier, influence is power of the people. Okay? Whose energy are you aligning with out here? Because whatever energy you're aligning with, you're helping to grow. Like I said, it's like I talked about the dyes. Okay? If you're aligning with this energy over here, you're adding more of that dye into the effect of the globe, into the overall effect of, that we're in. So what energy are you generating within yourself, and what energy are you aligning with? Yeah, man, I'm gonna end it there. Come back for part 3, man. I appreciate you. Peace, love, and prosperity always.